Yo, what's up, guys? Back with another video. This one, we're going to go over advertorials and how to make $1 million this year with advertorials, right? So, first things first, I want to make one thing clear, right? Don't expect this to be a silver bullet to your ecom problems, right? A lot of the time, and especially on X right now, it's a trend. Everyone's talking about advertorials and this and that. Yes, think of it like this is a very good catalyst for you to scale and, to scale faster. But if you have a shit offer, and just shit ads, don't expect your advertorial to do all the heavy work and all the heavy lifting, right? So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Remember, ecom is an ecosystem, right? So let's just get straight into it. The core idea here is, we want to start simplifying the process, right? And we want to, really kill complexity because a lot of the time it just ruins many things, right? So here's the entire system in a nutshell. We're going to have I'm going to go over, having one ad, one advertorial, and the one PDP, right? So cold traffic, education, and then conversion, right? So why do advertorial funnels win, right? And, it's very important for you to also understand that you need to think of it from a consumer's perspective, right? The mindset has changed. A lot of people have very shitty attention spans, right? People don't really care. They just want to understand straight about the solution and buy, right? So the traditional ecom funnel, you would have your ad, your product page, price shown immediately. This is a big thing, right? I'm going to discuss that as well. But the problem with this is there's cold price objection, there's no trust, and there's no education, right? But for an advertorial funnel, you have the ad, educational content. During the educational content phase, right, your advertorial, you kind of already sold them what you have to offer because you're hitting them in many different pain points and you're also explaining to them why your solution is the best and it's for them, right? And the psychological difference here is, the consumer already understands the problem, they trust your solution, and then they see you as an authority. So when they see the price, regardless if it's high or low, they're ready to buy. They're like, okay, you know what? I trust this and I want to buy this. So we're going to go over very good Google ad strategies as well that you should be implementing for your, for your brand and for advertorials. But, why does this scale to 1 million, right? To 7 figures plus. I just used 1 million for simplicity, right? Reason one, it works across all traffic sources, right? For Google, YouTube's obviously a part of Google, for Meta ads as well, TikTok, all of that sort of stuff. There's no creative fatigue as well, right? Because ultimately, you need to think of it like this. It's evergreen solutions for evergreen problems, right? And of course, this is dependent on the niche you're in and your exact product and offer that you're selling. But for the most part, evergreen solutions for evergreen problems. Another thing is higher AOV and lower refunds, right? Because people are educated, they trust you, they see you as an authority. Reason four, it's just easier to scale. Honestly, I've scaled, done very well in ecom and with advertorials. I know a lot of people that are doing very well with advertorials, and one thing that I definitely notice is people that do run it, they're able to unlock a new level of scale, right? So let's get into the technicals, right? And this is where, make sure you guys have a pen and paper, and most importantly, take action on this stuff, right? I'm giving you guys so much game on actually what's working. So part one, think of it like this. You have the ad, the actual advertorial, and then you have the PDP, right? Or where they check out. So step number one is the ad goal, right? Everything has its purpose. Everything plays its part and plays its role in the bigger picture, in the garden of ecom, quote unquote. So the main goal of the ad is you want to sell the click, not the product, right? So you want to, it depends if you're running Google or Facebook. But the main goal here is to drive education and not try to sell them directly, right? So a good hook formula is you want it to be controversial, you want it to be, have a wow effect, and you want it to shock their belief system, right? So here are some very strong examples, right, that you can definitely emulate. You can use AI and tailor it towards your exact offer, but these ones work really well. And then the ad body, especially in the early seconds, right? You want to agitate unknown problems. You want to validate, this is important, validate failed attempts. And then you want to introduce a new mechanism, right? And then, of course, by doing this, you're going to position yourself as an expert and not just a seller like everyone else does, right? And then your CTA, which is very important, it's not a buy now. It's an education first CTA. So here are some examples here, right? And of course, like I said, it's based on the platform, dependent on, where you're running the ads. But typically for Google Shopping or Google Search, you want to have these sort of titles or headlines For Google search, obviously, it's going to be headlines. For Google shopping, it's going to be, you know, your actual title and your description. And then for YouTube and Meta, it'll be pretty similar, right? And then part two, right, the actual advertorial and the actual structure that is working well right now. So this is important, right? So your first section, you want to validate their struggle. You want to acknowledge their pain, validate their failed attempts, and you want to make them feel seen. This is very important. Make them feel seen. Make them feel like you actually understand what they're going through, right? Section two, explain the real cause. So introduce the mechanism, explain why past solutions failed, and then cite studies or expert logic, right? This is going to boost up your authority a lot. And then section number three, introduce a solution category, not product, right? So show standard solutions as expensive, time consuming, and introduce a new category that solves the root cause. Again, this is very, very important, right? And then section number four, and then of course you want to like have images as well, and you know, like some cool animations and all of that sort of stuff, not just like a fat, you know, blob of just text that is like, is gonna turn a lot of people off. Section number four, introduce your product, right? So now your product, explain how it works, implement, you know, the scientific aspect of it, your USPs, explain why it's better than, you know, what other people have, or why it's better, why your mechanism is better compared to, you know, the previous ones they've tried, right? And ultimately just have a strong guarantee and a strong offer. This is very, very important. Like all the people that do well in ecom, they have actually a very strong offer, not like a basic offer, right? So that's one thing. I'll make a video on it in the future, but very important. Section number five, social proof. I feel like you guys already know this, but social proof, you definitely want to have a lot of social proof, right? And I mean, look, use Amazon, use Reddit, really understand, like, you need to get into the person's mind, right? That's going to be very important. And then section number six, have a soft CTA, right? So not too aggressive, have a risk reversal, have a clear next step. And again, maintain your educational tone. And then part three, your product page goal, right? So here are some very good elements that you should add to your PDP. And again, you can split test, you know, but usually I like to direct them to a PDP and then it's a simple checkout, right? So again, for the most part, it should be very similar. Like if you guys are already printing with your PDPs, then keep that structure, but just obviously introduce before that step an advertorial, right? And then, you know, why do simple funnels beat complex funnels, right? So again, like I said, people's attention span, people are just overstimulated in today's society, in today's world, right? There's so much information, there's so much stimulation, right? So you want to make things simple, right? And this is why having a simple funnel like this is just going to work, right? And I think more importantly, it's a rinse and repeat process. Let's say now you have a batch of winning creatives for one angle and then a winning advertorial for that same angle, right? Guess what? You have a structure that works. Now do more research into another angle. Watch my previous video. I go over that and rinse and repeat, right? And this is going to be very, very powerful. So I want to tap into actually Google ads and why Google actually prints so much for this, and, you know, why we're able to scale into massive, massive numbers for, you know, my clients and myself. Intent traffic. This is the reason why I've been doing Google ads for 7 years for ecom, right? And the reason why I love it is because the traffic is great traffic, right? There's so much intent behind the search. People are actually searching for what you have to offer, right? So I'll give you guys some source in terms of like how to scale aggressively and how to do very well, especially with Google search for advertorials. Typically what you want to have is have a non-branded search campaign to obviously exclude brand. Let me just pull out a pen real quick. So exclude brand, right? Exclude brand. In terms of match types, if you're just testing, stick to exact and phrase match. When you're scaling, I do recommend keeping it either phrase match or broad match, right? You can test 2 different ad groups, 1 each. And then budget, again, it just depends, but I recommend $100 a day. So this is very, very important, right? And this is why I love Google ads, because they're actually able to target specific keywords based on your offer and based on, you know, the type of product you're selling. So for advertorials, what works well is just top of funnel queries, right? So informational problem aware searches, right? Like the how-tos, the whys, and then obviously the signs of blah, 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 natural ways, blah, blah, blah. So like you can use this, again, plug it into AI, tell it to tailor it towards, you know, your brand, your offer, and then just do keyword research. So you can use the keyword planner, and, you know, I would recommend using that. There's like tools like SEMrush and that sort of stuff. So in terms of the ad copy, you want to sell the explanation, not the product, right? Remember, it's important that right now it's informational framing, right? And in terms of bidding, honestly, it depends. When you're scaling, I like to use maximize conversions or maximize conversion value with either a target CPA or target ROAS. But honestly, when you're testing, stick to manual CPC. That's what I do. I actually stick to manual CPC, and then once it's consistently getting sales, I will, scale it up by switching the bid strategy to a smart bid strategy, but then also combining that with phrase match or broad match, and then running that to an advertorial. So advertorial requirements, like we went through, make sure you have a soft CTA and a bunch of social proof, right? And remember, educate, pre-sell, convert. So in a nutshell, we went over why you should be testing advertorials, why you should definitely be implementing it to scale as well, why it scales to 7 figures, the simple 3-step process, right, on how to have a strong ad, strong advertorial, and a strong PDP, running ads to it, right, and, just why it prints, right? And again, like I said, I'm personally printing with this right now on Google Ads. I know a ton of people that are printing with it on Meta Ads, right? So it's definitely something that you wanna be doing, right? And there's so many brands printing with it, and there's some of the big dogs, like Hims, for example, doing 9 figures a year. And remember, it's educational first, advertorial style funnels, and authority positioning. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm gonna keep dropping so much source based on what's working right now. I really want to see everybody win. And yeah, I'm gonna leave my Telegram, group below. I'll drop a lot of source there as well. I've got my X as well. I'm gonna drop the link there as well. Leave a comment down below on which video or which topic you want me to tackle next. I'm going all out. I'm gonna start dropping 2-3 videos a week. And then of course, check out my website as well. I do done for you Google ads mainly for ecom brands. And we're working with a lot of 7-8 figure brands right now, scaling them up nicely. So without further ado, hope you guys enjoy this video, and until next time.